Hi, this is Pastor Barry, back from Cambodia and here with the last of the themes of the Upper Story videos, this one on chapter 31 and the epilogue from the story. Chapter 31 is entitled The End of Time, and I found it surprisingly short. I just expected that there would be more of it. They have really edited down Revelation. I also was surprised at the very beginning of this chapter where it says the revelation from Jesus Christ. This is a quote directly from the 2011 version of the NIV, and it surprised me because the classic rendering of that Greek phrase is the revelation of Jesus Christ. And I hope you can see the distinction between the two translations. One sounds like it's a vision of future events that is given by Jesus. The other can also mean that it is a revelation of Jesus himself and of his purposes. And that is the translation that I prefer because I really do believe that this is more than just a revelation of coming events. It is a revelation of Jesus himself and of his purpose for all creation. So this goes to the question of how we read Revelation. Some people read it primarily as a foretelling of future events. They want to read it to get the roadmap of what's going to happen. But I actually think there's a certain amount of arrogance in reading the book this way, as if God had John write this down around 100, 90 AD, 100 AD, something like that, and then for 1900 years, most of the book didn't mean anything to anyone because those visions and things weren't going to come to pass until the end, and we just happened to be here at the right time. And so we become the generation, we think, that these visions are for. Historically, the book of Revelation has been a great encouragement to Christians, especially Christians who have been in suffering, who faced persecution, because it's the story of how God overcomes evil and opposition and still establishes his kingdom. This is the good news that Jesus is king. Frazee and Lucado talk in the story about how the Romans were declaring that Caesar was Lord, and they take that to mean that they're claiming that Caesar is God after some fashion. And I do think there's some truth to that the Romans were saying that Caesar was divine in some way. But the bigger issue here, I think, is that Christians were saying that Jesus was Lord, that Jesus was the true king, and this was the thing that got them all in trouble. They're supposed to be declaring that Caesar is Lord, and instead they're declaring a different allegiance. They won't pledge allegiance to Caesar because they follow a different king. And so it was a political statement. It was in their face, and they refused to back off of that, which is why so many of them got martyred. This book, Revelation, is a warning and an invitation. And I hope that invitation comes out clearly. The invitation to come, that the one who is thirsty, the one who wishes to take the free gift of the water of life can come. So I hope that you'll talk about that in your groups, especially if not everybody in your group has had a chance to respond to that invitation. What we see in this chapter and in the bigger book of Revelation, and it is Revelation, singular, not revelations, because again, I think this is a revelation of Jesus, not just revelations that are given by him. But anyway, what we see in the book is a world dominated by the presence and the rule of God and everything that comes with that, which is why in the world that Revelation describes, there is life and light fruitfulness, and healing. We end in a state where there is no more night, no more sickness, no more suffering, and no more tears. And this is brought about by the rule of God, by the kingship of Jesus. And this is why I say that the gospel is the gospel of Jesus' kingship. He is the king of the kingdom of God. Uh, One way to understand Revelation is that it is a return of sorts to the garden. We see the reappearance of the tree of life, but this time it is accompanied by a whole bunch of other trees that deliver fruit or that produce fruit that deliver the healing and wholeness that God has always desired for the earth. And I hope that part of what you get from this is that what God was doing from the beginning of the story, creating a world and creating human beings in his image, and giving them this commission to extend his rule over the earth, or that he would extend his rule through them over the earth. What we see in the last chapters of Revelation is that God accomplishes the thing that he desired, and he has this world that is made new and made whole again, and in which he has intimacy with the ones who are made in his image, who experience intimacy with him in his constant, unfiltered presence. So I think that's the upper story thing here. The upper story thing here in Revelation is that despite what we see in the lower story of resistance and evil and what appears to be defeat for the followers of God, what is actually happening in the upper story is a picture of God's inexorable victory. That it is not around, God doesn't go around defeat to victory. God goes through it. He goes through suffering and persecution and opposition to victory. And I think that's what I think we're supposed to get from the book is that that's what he's doing in our lives. So that we shouldn't be discouraged by apparent defeat because God is the victor and he's working out the victory in the midst of what looks like defeat and terrible opposition. Okay, enough preaching on that chapter. The last chapter is an epilogue. It tries to get us to kind of reflect not just on the story of God, but on our own story. And I think that's a completely appropriate place for us to end. Our series title was God's Story and Our Story. And if your group hasn't had a chance yet to talk about your story at length, I want to strongly encourage you to take that last week. You have a whole week to spend on recapping and the epilogue. I think recapping the entire story might be kind of difficult, but I do think this is a great opportunity for you to each spend some extended time telling your own stories. I mean, we often give people 2 to 5 minutes to tell their story, but I'm thinking that this might be a great time to take longer than that, to take 15 minutes, to take some time to write out something, to do a short timeline of your spiritual life, going from before the time that you were a Christian until now. Or if that seems like too much work, to take at least 3 to 5 key events or markers in your journey, and to share them. I think each person could take time to do this, and then the group could take time to give feedback, to reflect together on what they're hearing, to maybe pray for discernment about that, and then give the feedback. Because people need to understand what their story says about where they might fit in the bigger picture of the purposes of God, the bigger story of God. And sometimes it's hard to see that for ourselves. And so I think we can give one another a beautiful gift by listening to one another and then helping each other to figure out what some of the seeds of the destiny that God has for us are, that can be found in our stories, in our past. So that's not necessarily determinative, but I strongly encourage you to give people a chance to share and to pray and to reflect together on what their story might mean about their ultimate calling. Um, I just think that would be wonderful. Now, to be able to do this well, you can't do it in a group of like 20. So if you're in a group of 20, you need to break into smaller groups to be able to do that. And maybe groups of about 4. If each person took 15 minutes, that would be an hour. Um, you could, if you're going to spend longer because of the reflection time and stuff, you need to plan that in, of course. But I wouldn't rush through it. I think it's critical that we take time to figure out not just the information of the story of God, but to understand better where our place is in that bigger story. All right, well, I hope that the story has been a great blessing to you. I hope it gives you a stronger grasp of what God is doing in the world and of what your part in it is. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is we're coming up to the holidays right now, and a couple of things on that. One, this is a time to keep God central. It's a time to not just for family or for food or for gifts, but it's a time to think about where God is and what He's doing in your life and what He wants for you and what He wants for the world. So I hope that you'll do that. The other thing is that the holidays can be an incredibly lonely and sad time for some people. And so I hope that you will consider inviting people to be a part of your holidays, even to be a part of the actual day of Thanksgiving, the actual day of Christmas. Often, we invite people to be a part of things that surround our holidays, and I'm all for that. That's really great. But we try to reserve the actual day for family. And let me just encourage you that family can be bigger than the people that you're related to. Family can include a much bigger grouping of people, the family of God, and even beyond that. Think about the kind of people that Jesus hung out with and included in his celebrations. This is the kind of thing that I think reflects the heart of God. And so I hope you might use your holidays to do some of that. Well, God bless you. Keep sharpening one another. Keep helping one another to grow in your life with God. And I hope that you will have blessed and wonderful holidays, holidays in which you get your own revelation of Jesus Christ.